Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are and whatever time you see this video. Today we have two guests with us. They are both special today, and we have Dr. Purnanand Sarma garu and Madhu Prakya garu is also doctor, I would say. Yes,
Namaste.
Purnanand Sarma garu is he has done his bachelor's in pharmacy in India, Andhra Pradesh, Andhra University, and he has also done doctorate in pharmaceutics from University of Minnesota, and currently he is heading the company called Immunome. He is the CEO and president of Immunome Inc. They are specialized in the finding the cancer drugs. So I will leave it that point, and I would like to have him tell more about himself and the company in a minute. Madhu Prakya garu, I know we all know him, and he is a technology consultant, and also he's a director at a company called IGT as an SQA director. And apart from being a technical leader, he is also specialized in the astrology and meditation and spiritual side. So we'll be learning both. The medicine. The title today is meditation and the medicine. So we have one person leader from the medicine side, and we have another leader from the spiritual and astrology side. So let's go with Dr. Sharma garu first. Dr. Purnanand Sharma garu, I really appreciate. Welcome to the show, both of you. Appreciate if you can tell us more about yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Srinivas garu. This is Purnanand Sharma. Again, thank you all the viewers for joining. As Srinivas garu mentioned, my name is Purnanand Sharma. I started my career with a pharmacy degree from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, then PhD University of Minnesota in pharmaceutics. Then I've been in the pharmaceutical business for nearly 30 years, all in the development of new drugs across various therapeutic segments, including infectious disease, pain, cancer. These are some of the areas in which I had direct responsibility to initiate the discovery of novel medicines. There are about 4 or 5 of them in the market that I touched at some point. Infectious disease as well as in other areas, including pain and cancer, as I told. So my passion is, fundamental science as it helps discovery of new medicines. So that's the quest I've been on. And I worked equally in both large pharmaceutical companies as well as built companies from scratch. So I'm both a biotech as well as a pharma executive. So I've seen the development of medicines from very early days all the way to the commercial launch. So we're in unprecedented times for our industry. I think the industry itself is coming together. So I think it is a silver lining to see so many companies and so many brilliant minds coming together to find a cure for this disease. We're not out of the woods yet, but I'm very confident the industry will come through.
Thank you very much, Purnanand Sharma garu. Madhu garu, appreciate if you can tell us about yourself too, little bit, please.
Definitely. Thank you, Srinivas garu. Today is a wonderful day. First of all, today, Purnanand Sarma garu birthday. Happy birthday to you, sir. First of all,
happy birthday,
Purnanand
Sharma garu,
for joining us today. He's a great friend, and I thought he's one of the very apt persons to be brought into this kind of a discussion, because people like me, we do not know what is happening in the field of medicine. We don't have enough training or education to understand what are the challenges. So this interview hopefully will bring out that. At the same time, we are living in a world, like for me, I learned technology, I lived in technical world. At the same time, I believe in divinity, I believe in higher consciousness, I believe in all this. So we want discussions where science meets conscience, physics meets metaphysics, chemistry meets alchemy, and we like this intersection of planes and exchange of knowledge. Given the pandemic, this is not time to say which field is correct. India gave yoga, world is a beautiful place, and I thank both of you for this opportunity.
Thank you and welcome to the show again. We'll go with Dr. Purnanand Sharma garu, because today whole world is under the grips of the COVID-19 disease and the coronavirus So what is this? I mean, we have got many viruses in the past. I mean, let it be the flu in Spanish flu in early 1900s, and SARS and MERS and many of them. So why is it this particular virus is so different and it's becoming creating a lot of chaos in the world, and also the health systems and the pharmaceuticals are struggling to find a medicine. So we would like to know more from you. Technically, we have been reading many newspapers or news articles, but we get our own analysis. So we would like to hear directly from a person who works daily in that field. So it will be more authentic, and I would say more close to the reality. So I would really appreciate if you can tell us how exactly this virus is different from other viruses, please.
Yeah, thank you again. For full disclosure, I'm not a virologist by any stretch of imagination, but again, peripherally from someone who's been in the field and how medicines are developed. This is like any other coronavirus, meaning any other respiratory virus that we know. That's how it originally appeared to be. It appeared to be like a flu virus. It appeared to be a couple of things that seem to distinguish this virus, very different from some of the others. One is its ability to very rapidly spread and stay alive outside for much longer periods of time compared to some of the other viruses, which makes the transmission much easier for the virus. So that's one big difference. And that's also not necessarily that unexpected, because sometimes you do get viruses that can stay outside longer, or just like some bacteria can stay longer. But what is more distinguishing in this virus is how it's able to rev up the immune system in some people. So much so that people's own immune reaction is driving them down the cliff. So people who are very, very serious at the end of their fight with COVID are dying because of their own immune reaction. Many of them at that time are not even shedding the virus. The virus is undetectable at that time. So it is able to turn on certain things almost in some people for reasons that we don't fully understand, so that people's own immune reaction is eventually driving them to death. And that's a bit unusual in the sense that why is this virus able to do that, and why is it happening only in some people? And it's random in many ways. Initially, we thought only elder people are more at risk. We're seeing effects in children. Okay, we're seeing some younger people die. We're seeing blood clots. That's also known phenomenon. But so there are multiple facets related to immune system and autoimmune triggers that this virus seems to elicit in people. That's still a bit of a mystery with this virus. What is unique? Why is it doing it? Or why is our body reacting this way? Let's forget about the virus for a second. Why is our body reacting in some people the ways in which it is reacting? That seems to be a distinguished mark of this virus. There's a lot of research going on to understand it, but the ability to survive a little bit longer and this unusual ways to modulate the immune system seem to be like the two big differences with this virus compared to some of the others we have seen. Because the others haven't become pandemics. We've seen SARS, the MERS virus, we have seen the avian bird flu, H1N1. But this one seems to have a bit of an unusual ability to modulate the immune system more than the others.
Gotcha. Okay. So I mean, we've been hearing more about US pharmaceutical companies finding a medicine for this one, and India claiming, I mean, they have got already 2 of them and they released it. I know, I mean, and at the same time, recently they are now talking about releasing another one. They got into clinical trials in India, especially Hyderabad-based company one. So what is really realistically, I mean, it takes for a company or a biotech company to find a drug and then pharmaceutical company to manufacture it. So can you help us out in understanding the life cycle of in getting a new medicine and getting it tried, and then make sure it is getting a regulatory approval, and then going to the manufacturing and distributing to the people. I would really appreciate if you can help us out in understanding the process, please.
Sure, sure. It's going to take a few minutes because it's a long process. I'm going to condense it.
Sure.
But I think at the outset, let me give a couple of disclosures. One is I can lay out a normal course of a drug development. Okay. However, we are in unprecedented times. So every single regulatory agency in every country is making their own accommodations in light of the pandemic nature to bring out medicines in a much faster timeline, often with lesser requirements, because it's always a risk balance approach. Okay. So put that aside for a second, but let me just explain the phases of drug development, how it works. And then we can come back and talk about specifically as it relates to COVID, how some of the things are. So any drug that actually needs to be developed first has to have enough of a basic science concept that a particular target when you're engaging or a particular thing that you are doing in the body results in a beneficial effect towards a disease. Okay, so all of that is basic research, and it takes anywhere from 1 to 10, 12 years in some cases to identify something like that. But let us not start the drug development there. Let us assume we got to that. Okay, there is something in an animal model that shows that if you treat this drug with this particular target, you produce a beneficial effect in animals. Okay. From that point forward, if we start the clock, okay, then the first order of business developed is what is called as a safety testing in animals. So this is a very regimented safety testing according to the good laboratory practices that you do it in typically 1 to 2 species, one rodent and one non-rodent in many cases. And that process takes about a year or so to complete, and then you file what is called an investigative new drug application. This is to tell the government that I found something that is interesting, it is safe in animals. The reason for doing safety studies is when you start testing it in humans, you want to be well below those toxic levels. Otherwise, you don't know where to start, right? So you have to have some starting point as to how you're going to pick the dose and how you're going to pick them. Then the first study is called a phase 1 study, very obvious. And phase 1 study, typically you do it in normal healthy volunteers, typically males. Okay, the reason I say that is not to be gender biased or anything, it's just that we sometimes don't know the potential in the offspring. Okay. So even in longer term effects related to teratogenicity, etc., especially women of childbearing age, there is a risk that you just can't quantify. Not that men are more disposable than women, but just the hard reality is that because of the unknowns, you typically do it in males, normal healthy volunteers. And the idea here is you go to healthy people because even if there are some side effects, they have the ability to withstand. Okay, or they have other no comorbidities. If you want to test right away in somebody who already has hypertension, let us say, it's very hard to tease out the side effects. So you typically go with people who are healthy and normal and try to see how much can I push the dose before I start seeing some safety signals in humans. So that now I'm establishing animal safety to human safety. I want to make the link. Okay. So this phase 1 study, when it is complete, you have proven that the drug is safe. Okay. So then comes the phase 2 study. In phase 2 study, you are now trying to get into the dose and the dose ranging and the frequency of dosing, but you are also now studying it in patients who are mildly affected with the disease that we are trying to treat. Okay. Here you can start gathering a lot of information in patients who are diseased. What kind of biomarkers or what kind of responses are you seeing related to the disease, changes in the enzyme levels, changes in things that are markers of efficacy, even though it is not full-blown efficacy study, for example. But you are gathering this information now related to efficacy for the first time. Phase 1 study is primarily safety. You are not expecting anything to know about whether the drug works or not. Okay. Once you establish the safety parameter, now you are trying in patients. Am I doing anything in patients who are even mildly suffering from this disease? Am I seeing things going in the right direction? At what dose are they happening? How frequently should I give the drug? So you try to get that information. Roughly, this is about hundreds of patients, 300 to 500 patients typically, can be less depending on the disease. Then the phase 3 comes in. And phase 2 studies, you also do it in a few centers. You're talking about 10, 12, 15, 20 centers. Phase 3 studies is a confirmatory study on efficacy and safety. Here you are now going it in all patients that have the disease, the sick, the normal, meaning less suffering. And it is a multi-center, typically multi-country. Okay, you can be having centers in US and Europe and in India, Japan, wherever. And these studies typically runs in hundreds to thousands of patients, and they're all, both phase 2s and phase 3 typically tends to be controlled studies. That means you have a group of people who don't get that medication, but they get a placebo or a sugar pill. And then there is a group that actually gets the medication. And then you power the study such that you define very clearly what your endpoints are. Suppose if you are trying to reduce pain, pain reduction and related to that are endpoints. Then similarly, if you're looking for cancer, you have RECIST criteria, and is the tumor regressing, etc. So you define a priori before you go into the study itself, you get an agreement with the government, FDA in the case of the United States, that these are my primary parameters that I should clear with statistical significance. If they don't clear with statistical significance, the study has failed. So basically, you are trying to prove statistically, the null hypothesis is, for those who are technical, that the drug and the placebo are the same. They don't produce any effect. You have to basically prove that the null hypothesis is wrong. That means the drug works statistically. So you have to do that. So typically, you do 2 studies like that, not 1. So the FDA requires 2 well-controlled studies of that magnitude. Okay, just to give a concept, in case of COVID, we are talking about 10,000 to 30,000 patients in a phase 3 study that are currently planned, because the outcome there is very different. If I treat so many 15,000 people, how many of the 15,000 actually get COVID-related disease and end up in the hospital, versus a control where that also happens at a different rate. And you're trying to distinguish the virus has to, the vaccine has to provide at least 50% benefit over placebo to be considered a success. That's what the US FDA just issued a guidance. That's what their requirement would be to get an approval. So the endpoints change from study to study, from indication to indication, drug to drug, but you establish those criteria very early on before you know that if a study is successful or not. Then the study is successful. Then you file what is called an NDA, or a new drug application, to the FDA, where they review the data from phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, everything together, and conclude that this drug is effective and it can then be broadly marketed to treat the patients. Okay, this process typically takes about 10 to 12 years to complete.
Wow.
Okay, from discovery. Okay, and it costs nearly $1.5 billion to get a drug through market. And the reason is that the actual cost associated with developing a drug is only 300 to 400 million. 1.1 billion is a cost of failure. You take so many drugs, they all die along the way, right? But you have to take into account all the failures also. When you calculate, I have to kill. So the probability of success starting from discovery to giving all the way is about 5 to 6%. So 95% of the drugs will die along the way. Only 5% of them will make it. That's why the cost of new drug development is so high. And many people don't understand why drugs are expensive, etc., because you have to absorb all the cost of failure to get to something that works. And when that works, of course, it can do miracles, like we have seen in some other cancer drugs. But to summarize, it's a long story. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And it is an industry that is very capital intensive and a lot of stress, because you have to be prepared to face the failures. So I hope that, even though it's long, I thought at least.
No. I mean, we got a very good understanding. I mean, a high level idea of what it takes to make a medicine. And thank you very much for a detailed explanation on that. So for a few minutes, we'll come back to more details on this, how the drugs are made and what are the different kinds of drugs we have right now, or options we have. We'll come back to in a minute. Before that, we'll go back to Madhu Garu and say, we'll talk to him about, see, the same thing, today the coronavirus is creating a havoc on the health, but at the same time, it is creating a stress and anxiety also in the people. Let it be worry about getting the disease to themselves, the financial stress, and some people, kind of with the restrictions. See, people will not be able to handle this. So the stress can be from multiple sides. So, but the spiritual side, people have been saying that there is another solution for this kind of stress. The meditation is one thing. So, one can give a solution for the stress and the anxiety. So, we'd like to know a little more about, first of all, what is the meditation? And then how is this meditation is going to help during the times of the stress and the anxiety? I would really appreciate if you can help us in understanding these 2 points, please.
Thank you, Srinivas garu. Thank you, Sarma garu. I did not know about very details of the drug development, and this is the time, as I was saying, India has given us one of the greatest valuable things, yoga. Indian saints, they already thought about the power of yoga, how to strengthen the physical body. India gave 2 kinds of most powerful solutions: how to strengthen your body, that is hatha yoga; how to strengthen your mind, that is yoga, meditation. We have tradition from years, from almost hundreds of years. One of the oldest civilization I come from, I'm proud of it. Palm leaves like this. My friend are like Paradesi, like they all study these palm leaves. They are written in different languages throughout India. The Shastras are directly written there, they kept and they preserved there. So whatever I'm going to say, first thing I want to say is, these are ideas of greatest science that is born many centuries ago. So what is yoga? Yoga is nothing but an ability to strengthen first 2 levels of body: physical body and mental body. We call it spirit or astral body, whatever you call it, first mind or whatever you call it, 2 levels. A person doing regular yoga, one of my gurus, he's 75, 80 years old, still he walks like with great strength and he can climb, mountains. And I have met yogis like Tatambari Baba in Himalayas is one example. They claim to have lived 300 years, 400 years. What is their secret? He's just wearing 1 bag of rice, just that bag. Tatambari Baba wears just a bag. And we had yogis like, in Brindavan yogi who lived for hundreds of years. So they did not have access to salads, they did not have access to greatest things. Apart from the food, the strength did not come from the physical body. The strength came from the inner body, the spiritual body, and the thought process that existed there. They meditated every day. When we are meditating every day, what is meditation? I'll give you analogies. Meditation is like vacuum cleaning. You just vacuum clean every day. What vacuum cleaning is needed? Every time there is dust is accumulated. Sometimes I get allergies due to smallest dust somewhere accumulated. I open the door and window, the dust is coming. Mind also, in Telugu, I want to give this quotation of a great poet called Tilak. తెరచే కిటికీని బట్టి పరతించే పుష్ప పరాగం ఉంటుంది, గదికి మదికి కూడా గవాక్షాలుంటాయి. So even the heart and mind have a window. So sometimes you leave this window open to every junk possible. With the advent of internet, we have information, but we have misinformation. In WhatsApp group, you may see things that will disturb you, that may panic you. So you open this window to the junk, oh my God, we are going to die and we are going to fall off like rats and it's going to be a pandemic. Yes, that fear may stress you. Even the smallest thing, job layoffs in some part of the company, can stress you. Above all, we are caged right now. People who are greatest couple may be sitting in one house, locked outside. Then you are putting in a box and you are shaking things. You're really, really testing the elastic limits of wives and husbands and kids. being, everybody is like so stressed out. Unless you create a space, a mental space, we cannot have a healthy environment. There can be fights. There are jokes even as soon as COVID is over and this thing. A lot of people want to go and, kind of go and live it somewhere and travel somewhere far off. You can see some of the cities that are opening up, and Texas is opening up, or California opening up, giving it a little bit of freedom. You're seeing thousands of people going there and actually again clustering, again creating more COVID cases. So basically, meditation is a way of cleaning out, releasing the stress. To do meditation, we'll come to probably at later stage of this discussion. It is uncomplicated. How a person can sleep, there's no need to teach. Just you provide an environment to sleep. You just try to lie down and put a pillow there. Sleep comes. It's a natural state. Meditation is a natural state. You drop a coin in a lake or a swimming pool, maybe it will go to the bottom. That is nature of the coin. Mind, you leave it like that, it goes into meditation. Relax. As we relax more, probably Sarma garu can explain better, your blood pressures, your heart rates, your sugar levels, all kinds of parameters will come down. If you stop worrying about things, especially there are two kinds of people in this world. One, people are impacted by COVID. They should not be stressed at all. One of the greatest strengths, immunity, comes from them getting relaxed. Second type of people who are supporting those who got COVID. They need to be more strong. They are the soldiers in the battlefield. I am getting calls almost every day, at least minimum, sitting in this corner of this world, I am getting minimum 2 calls with either patients of COVID or people who are supporting the patients. So both of them, the second type of people who are like almost maybe 98 out of 100, they need to be strong, they need to be meditating, they need to give strength to other members of the family and friends. If you start crying and panicking, you won't be able to work out. That won't work. So meditation, yogas chitta vritti nirodhakaha. That's a fundamental definition of yoga. As a from yogic perspective, I understand. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but as I understand, it's an ability to control the nature of mind and bring balance. Missing balance is the secret of evolution. Having balance is the secret of success. Big giant animals like dinosaurs got extinct because they didn't have balance, and we succeeded because we have balance. So balance is the key and secret of success. That's what I think.
Thank you, Madhu Garu, for the explanation of the meditation and just comparing it to the vacuum cleaning and cleaning your thoughts and those kind of things, which is nice. I have a few points, but I'll come back to you in a few minutes about being the center, especially meditation. They say you should be in center, those kind of things. I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Dr. Purnanand Sarma Garu, do you want to ask anything to Madhu Garu?
Yes, I think you bring up an important point on the mental state and immunity. I think there are lots of research that's done on the neurological space. Okay, we all know that relaxation, you can measure relaxation. Of course, through neurological testing techniques, etc. Are you aware of anyone probed immunological benefits directly as a result of meditation? Because one of the things that I was sort of intrigued by the title of this presentation when Madhu told me to come on board is that immunity seems to be one of the central themes. There are more people now today in the world know what an antibody is than we did in December of 2019. Okay. Again, my company's name is Immunome. Immunome is because of immunology. That's what we study. I wasn't aware of any specific studies that linked immunological behavior relative to meditation. I just wanted to ask Madhu if he came across or he has a perspective on that.
Sure, definitely. I started in my life with first of all, I'll address immunity in 2 folds. First of all, I came across immunity to problems in life. That is so essential. Second is immunity in terms of the physical immunity side. I was doing transcendental meditation, and in transcendental meditation, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is not there anymore, but he is the guru of great Shri Ravi Shankar Ji, who started movement of art of living. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was guru of even great leaders like Deepak Chopra and many great Mahatmas. It started the movement in Western world, transcendental meditation. I'm taking that as an example. There is Kriya Yoga. There are many forms of Siddha Samadhi Yoga. There are many Brahma Kumari Samadhi. They have yoga. World Teacher Trust has yoga. All these meditation. There are many methods of meditation. That's fine. But end of the day, what I learned from one method which I studied is they have done clinical research and with meters around it and having people meditating how the alpha, beta, gamma, whatever the thought process mind is, rest levels are. They have proven data which actually encouraged yoga to be brought to the Western world. Yes, yoga is giving results, meditation is giving results. Second part, most important one, which I probably dedicated my 1% of life is, I'm a very selfish person, but within that 1% I can allocate is immunity to problems. People come to us as astrologers, first of all with a problem. They have fear. I'm not getting a job. Sky is not going to fall. Oh my God, but the person coming, I don't have a job. How am I? Do you have bank balance? Yes, sir. For 1 year I have bank balance. But why are you worried today as if something is going to happen tomorrow? That's how we react. People around react. We are trained from childhood by our brought up, our society, to be afraid, to share problems, to be afraid and to be dependent. No, it's okay. We tell them it's all right. Sometimes that doesn't work. There is one word you have used, Sarma Garu, that fascinates me is placebo. Probably we should have a whole show about placebo. Placebo is you're giving a pill, probably a piece of chalk or sugar goli, something like that. You're giving somebody and still the person is able to recover. Why placebo is working is, a placebo is working, which is a fake dummy medicine, because person believed it's medicine. So belief does have medicinal effects. So astrology does have accuracy. I can talk hours about it. At the same time, we are giving a placebo. We are the first line of defense. The mayor of San Ramon, the city I live in, one day called all the religious people in my town for a breakfast. He said, I took ownership as mayor, but I want help from all of you. He said, what? There is like a Buddhist monk, there's a church father and Islamic, the mosque leader. He said, you are the people who are in touch with the stress of the people. Before they write an email to mayor, they go to the church every morning, they go to the temple every morning. Can you guys please give strength to my city when they are afraid? That's what we are doing. First of all, we want world to continue. The first level of immunity to me is, I give a mantra. A person is scared. Oh my God, I got cancer. I'm going to die. With this fear, he may die next week. I say, don't worry. Om Hrim Dum Durgai Uttishta Purushikam Swapshi Bhayam Me Samupasthitam Yadashakyam Asakyam Vatan Me Bhagavat Same Same Swaha. You repeat this mantra 1000 times a day. First of all, he will need 1000 days to learn the way I'm chanting this. I agree. So he's engaged in learning the mantra. Second, he has to chant it 1000 times. He has dedicated time. Oh, if you have to do it right like this, you wear a red color cloth. First of all, his mind is diverted from them panicking to an action, and we give the strength of Durga to him. Calling Durga is a function call. Just like in Java, we are calling a function. In software world, we are calling a function. God is omnipresent like Wi-Fi. You can access on a cell phone, you can access on laptop, you can access on desktop, you can access on a damn tablet. Everything you are accessing. God is omnipresent, available 24 hours a day. We are making these individual small disconnected computers connected to the network, connected to the cosmic consciousness. We are bringing balance. Once balance is there, then there is serendipity. Serendipity is such a beautiful phenomenon. Archimedes taking a bath and suddenly he gets the Archimedes principle. And Newton going in a lift, elevator, and suddenly he gets ideas about probably velocity of light or relativity. So the intuition triggers in, immunity triggers in. We are making them connected to nature. Suddenly they get triggered. So that's what the immunity is. Two levels of immunity, both levels of immunity, astrology and remedies from spirituality will help. Purva janma kutam papam vyadhi rupena badhite. Why we are getting health problems? It is because of past life. That's what spirituality is saying. The logic is not everything you are doing in this life. Where there are newborn babies, maybe they're 6 months old, 3 months old, they're getting polios, they're getting health problems. Some of them have less life. So unfortunate. What bad karma they have done? Why do they deserve that? at that young age, it is because there's something that probably is there in nature, that before the soul even came into existence, something probably pre-recorded, something else is affecting us. Probably it is the life of the people who are living before. We are creating a society and an ecosystem that is causing these health problems. Can we improve collectively this consciousness? Can we make the society less crime, less stress? If pregnant women are less stressed out, the babies are healthy. Naturally, దేశమంటే మట్టి కాదో దేశమంటే మనుషులో. The country doesn't mean actually it's not just the soil that is a country, it is the people who are the country. To strengthen the people, to give good health to people, we need to give good thoughts. The purpose of spirituality is to give good thoughts, not to sectarian or whatever word is, say you belong to this sect, you belong to this sect, you both are different. Religion is not built to say you're different. Religions are built to say you're all one. I like to quote Muhammad Ali, who's like a boxer. He says, it does not matter where the water came from. If the water is pure, its source is also pure. Some people get the water from taps, some from the river, some from the ocean. If it is pure and drinkable, then it's perfect. If your actions are perfect and pure, then your religion is perfect. So we have to follow that. Our purpose of immunity is through community. Community is our immunity. We build a community that builds immunity.
Thank you very much for covering many points, Madhu Garu here. Dr. Sarma Garu, we would like to ask you one thing. Today, you have explained very well on how the medicine will be, new medicine will come to the shelves in the pharmacies. So what is the current status or the situation right now, both in the medical environment and the pharmaceutical environment? And whereas we have been hearing the remdesivir is kind of helping a little bit, it's not a direct medicine, but it's helping. And there are a few other medicines are in line, in the process. So can you help us out in understanding where we stand in actually finding a solution for this COVID-19 disease, what we are going through right now?
Yeah, definitely I'll be able to do that. I'll try to, be as, it's a big subject, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. This is actually a loaded question. First thing is, there is a lot of confusion because we have to first separate vaccine research from treatments. Okay, vaccines are meant to be protective. So you take a vaccine and then you don't think about it. So you just go about your life, do it. We have done that with measles, smallpox, chickenpox, what have you. Then there is research and treatment. This is when you have the disease, then how do you treat and how do you help the patient? So most of the news that we have been reading about in case of remdesivir, favipiravir, or some of the other medications is more on the treatment mode. Okay, so once the virus has already infected you, it is making copies of itself and it is really coming out in large numbers. Body is overwhelmed. The body is not able to fight anymore because the body's immune system eventually is what fights the disease. We all have to completely understand that. What the drugs like remdesivir do is they stop the rate at which the virus is able to replicate so that it gives the body enough time to fight it. Okay, that's why it's not a cure per se. It reduced remdesivir, for example, hospitalization by 3 days or 4 days. What that means is that more patients were able to recover and go home faster because the drug was able to give time for the body to not get overwhelmed by the. So some of those drugs have some data is now coming out. Remdesivir you mentioned, then there are others, but their utility is only when patient is already infected. Even then, the efficacy is good place to start. I would say it is not perfect, but at least it gave us a glimpse that if you stop the virus to replicate in this mechanism, there is probably a way for the body to fight. Now we have to come back and say, is it one drug or is it remdesivir plus something else? Are they better than remdesivir? But at least we are on a path to finding out how to give the body enough time that is needed. So that's one side of the equation. Second one is really vaccine. In case of vaccine, what you're saying is that if you challenge the body with a little bit of coronavirus or some protein related to coronavirus or some other structure related to coronavirus, the body will see that as a foreign object and it will raise immune reaction. It will make antibodies. So when the real virus comes in, you are better prepared to fight it off before it gets a chance to take over. Those studies, whether it is AstraZeneca, Oxford, or Moderna, or Pfizer and BioNTech, all of them are putting different constructs of this virus into early stage testing to find out, one, if I put the viral protein, is the body making the right antibodies or not? Okay. So that, I think many of them are showing the body is making antibodies. Next step is, are the antibodies enough to protect in a broad setting? That's where these phase 3 studies that we just talked about are coming into the picture. So Moderna is supposed to start a phase 3 sometime, in July, and I think, the AstraZeneca program. So many of them are now entering into a phase where, now that we know these viral proteins make antibodies, are these antibodies able to protect broadly patients? So those are the studies that would be reading out in the next several months. And if they read out positively, FDA also has recently put out their guidance on, they want the drug to be at least 50% better than a placebo in terms of ability to stop people from not just getting infected, but actually start showing symptoms of COVID. So these antibodies should be strong enough not to just fight off, but able to prevent the people from getting the COVID symptoms. That is the endpoint that they would like to see. Again, these endpoints are subject to negotiation by different regulatory agencies depending on where you are. Those studies are yet to be completed. So companies are really racing to get to that point so that they can find out if their approach is broadly protective. So these are the two main. The third category is somewhere in the bridge. This is called the convalescent plasma therapy, which has been known in the immunity diseases for a long time. If a patient has successfully fought the disease, can you take their plasma and then inject it into patients who are suffering? So there is a lot of research that has gone into this field in other infections. It is rather commonly used for 100 years. But in the context of COVID, again, we're all scientists, we're asking the same question. If I take a plasma from a COVID responding patient and inject it into patients who are either suffering from COVID or going to get the infection, does it work? Those studies are also running in parallel. So these are the triangular approach that the industry is taking. And I think we're entering into the real phase of major vaccine players studying 10,000, 30,000, 40,000 patient trials. So it's all going to be a statistical, driven approach. So I'm hopeful that one of them, if not more than one, will come through. Because eventually I think it's going to take more than one approach to contain this virus.
I want to ask.
Go ahead, Madhu.
Sure. I want to ask a question actually. So, from day-to-day perspective, once in a while there are news, okay, vaccine is coming or medicine discovered. The moment I know when they say medicine discovered does not mean it is readily available. So, really, has it been discovered? And if you think, sir, really it is discovered, when do you think, how soon you think it will be available to people?
So, I mean, if you choose the words appropriately and precisely, I think the answer becomes clear. A drug is discovered versus a drug is developed are two different things. A drug is discovered meaning that there is a evidence to say that if you impinge on this mechanism, you might produce a beneficial effect. So you've discovered something. Doesn't mean you developed it to a point of knowing exactly what the benefit is, right? So for example, a particular drug is discovered because it is known to inhibit a certain enzyme. Yeah, it is discovered, but has it been developed? That's where the question is. So to me, as far as the coronavirus is concerned, remdesivir got approval. Okay, so it has gone through the process, and say that the discovery that they made actually translated into a clinical benefit by having certain percentage of patients go home 3 days early, right? So until you go through the approval process, I would not call a drug actually developed. Okay, one can claim it may have been discovered, but the proof isn't there yet to say that it actually works. that has to go through the clinical evaluation and trial and approval process.
So worldwide, we are in that clinical trial phase, I assume.
For vaccines, we are entering not only early stage, but we're actually entering the later stage clinical trials for vaccines. Not just one, but multiple. Okay. The reason multiple is that again shows the complexities. Srinivaskar, you asked me the question right in the beginning, because this virus looks so different, that we as an industry are taking multiple approaches to see which one is going to win. Because if we know exactly how this virus was going to behave, you just need one approach. Why do so many? Right? You do so many because you want to make sure you're attacking the virus from multiple angles and see how the human body responds. So I'm hopeful that one or more of these approaches will read out soon, because one interesting thing here is that there are a large number of patients who would be willing to participate in this study. You can't call them patients because in the context of vaccines, they're normal people. Right? So they're signing up for something and say that if I take the vaccine as an experimental vaccine, I'm not going to be able to get coronavirus, right? That's the advantage. The flip side is that if you take the vaccine and you sit at home and you wear a mask, then how normal is that? The idea is if you take a vaccine, you should be able to get on a plane and go to wherever you want to go because you're protected. So that's why this trial design and execution is kind of interesting as to how you give a vaccine and run a clinical trial and make people behave as if they're going about their business. You want to study the effect of the vaccine in a normal setting. Just take your mind to a point where coronavirus is no longer there, how you want to be. Once you get a vaccine, you want to study that scenario, not the scenario that you are in today, where everybody is in lockdown. You run a clinical trial, all 30,000 patients go sit at home. You haven't run a clinical trial, right? Relative to where you want to go. You ran a clinical trial that everyone is wearing a mask, how is the vaccine is working? So that's why there are a lot of nuances that I don't think we'll have time to talk about today. For example, I think the study in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, the vaccine study is also being studied in healthcare workers, where there is a greater risk of them of actually contracting the virus because they're treating the patients. There at least you are looking at the effect of the vaccine to prevent someone who is at a risk of exposure. But I can flip a coin and say that if someone has a placebo arm, right, they're putting themselves at risk if this doesn't work. But that's scientific clinical research. You always have to do the risk balance approach. And I think they also are doing as a control a meningococcal virus, because with any vaccine, as you all know, if you get a vaccine, you get a reaction where you inject it. In the case of these vaccines, you may get a flu-like symptoms. So if you get a flu-like symptom after you get a treatment, even though you don't know whether you are an active or a placebo, someone say, oh, maybe I got the drug because I got flu-like symptoms. Then their behavior may change, right? Those are all biases that you need to avoid. So they're also giving them another vaccine that also causes a reaction. So you don't know whether you got active or placebo because they'll be told that you will get a reaction no matter what, whether you're an active or in placebo. So don't assume that you got that drug because people's mind wanders. One of the things that you worry about in clinical trials, especially controlled clinical trials, is how people's behavior alters outcomes. I'll give you the best example that I think people can relate to. The reason why several diabetes drugs actually fail is because the placebo outperforms the active in terms of reduction of glucose levels. Why? When a patient is enrolled in a 3-month clinical study, they want to impress the doctor. They know that they're going to get monitored everywhere. So they got on an exercise routine. They change their diet. There is no medication. It is just their behavior by virtue of being in the clinical trial, their hemoglobin A1C level comes down. So even though the drug also worked, they do such a good job. All it takes is a handful of placebo patients to really work out. Your trial is a bust, right? So
the act of observation alters the results.
I'm sorry?
They say the act of observation alters the results. When we are observing, things are different.
Correct. So I think to get a 50% type of efficacy in a trial like this, when it is so complicated, behaviorally, scientifically, is a tall order. So I think I'm sure these are well experienced companies. When you're talking about AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, they understand this, right? So we're not saying anything that is, groundbreaking here, but the point is, in a pandemic situation like this, people's behavior is driven by their psyche. So those who are participating in the trials have to be very prescriptive on how they behave in the trial. Otherwise, the data that we're going to get will be confounded.
Gotcha. Thank you, Sarma Garu. Madhu Garu, coming back to you, so we have been hearing about astrology as a role in alternative medicines. Whenever we go to an alternative medicine, because sometimes we feel it is safe, and also we go for smaller issues, we go to the alternative medicine. Let it be Ayurveda or homeopathy or Tibetan medicine or Chinese medicine. But when we go there, they talk about few things. Astrology, like, let us start on a good day, or Rahu Kalam, these kind of things. So what kind of role an astrology plays in the medicine? And also I heard, when you go to a doctor in those areas, naturopathy or Ayurveda and those things, they also learn astrology to some level. They don't become an astrologer, but what I heard is doctors know a little bit of astrology too. They teach them. So what kind of role astrology has in the alternative medicine world?
Very nice. Astrology is Vedanga. Veda is with knowledge. Astrology is Jyotish Shastra. It is the eye of seeing the world in ancient world. Astrology is an analytical tool that helps to analyze things. There is no other tool better than astrology to analyze life itself. And astrology is in tune with astronomy, which is looking at the big celestial picture. So even today, to give certain medicine in Ayurveda, even suggestions can be made. You take this medicine on a full moon day or new moon day, Ekadashi, or you can define when moon is in Ardra or Swati Nakshatra or Satabhisham. You can tune, I'm just giving examples, you can tune a medicine what day, what time, by taking what effects can happen, because that is the job of astrology. Is it a belief? Yes, it is also a belief. Is it placebo? There is also, but at the same time, we have seen real life results also working through many years. Astrologically, we can arrive at certain conclusions that are helping people. In Australia, I was working with one doctor, Seshakumar, a friend of mine, who is a homeopathy doctor in Australia. He lives in Perth. So there are courses where he's teaching alternative medicine, and I was a guest speaker or lecturer. I gave lectures to. And they believe at this point of time, even Western world believes in astrology more than us. They are seeing it. There are two ways of looking at astrology. One as a superstition, like very old way, don't believe in superstitions. Astrology is just for reading and predicting, sir, when am I going to get married, how many kids I will have. That is one type of astrology. Second is analytical astrology. Analytical astrology is the modern way of looking at it, where you have a tool, you analyze it. You try to be in tune with nature, you give solutions. For example, if we take Virgo, any day Kanya Lagnam, when ascendant is Virgo, and you meditate Nabhi Chakrena Kaya Vyuha Jnanam, that's a Patanjali gave a principle. Meditate on the navel center of Manipuraka Chakra. When you meditate, you understand your body, you understand what health problems may come. You can know in advance intuitively, unknowingly, spontaneous right action happens. You will take those vegetables or that dosages of food that will help you. Same way at the Anahata Chakra, center of the heart, there is Kurma, a Shakti called Kurma, turtle energy. It is written in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it's ancient science. It gives stability. Like a turtle can withdraw into itself, can live 200 years. And it can live very strongly, longer life to have the stability. So astrology, when we use, we know the right time and timing of doing things. So with that, I want to ask a question to Sarma Garu. So to give any remedy, astrological remedy, the shape is very important. Coronavirus, I am intrigued by the spikes or whatever you call it. What do you think is the planet I should give, or what day astrologically people should do a mantra I should give? So I am asking a medical person, probably a spiritual advice.
I mean, Madhu Babu and I have this come. I think what is fascinating to me is that why did people call it a coronavirus, right? Because I have a fundamental belief that anything that comes out just naturally in any language or anything, it should have some natural consequence. I mean, corona we associate with sun, right? I mean, corona and sun is, especially when you have a solar eclipse, etc. What you see is a corona. So that is on the surface of the sun, and if you look at 95% of the research that is directed towards COVID today on vaccines is on what is called as spike proteins. Those the proteins that are on the surface. As a matter of fact, the coronavirus gets its name coronavirus because of the spikes that it has on the surface. And one of the most prominent approaches that medical field at least is taking is if you can neutralize the corona, or you can neutralize the spike or the entry of that spike receptor binding domain, they call it. So it latches onto human cells using its corona and then internalizes into the body. So the thought does cross my mind, is there any correlation between the fact that we are trying to not only that it is a coronavirus by shape, but we're actually targeting the corona as a remedy. 90 to 95% of the research that we have ongoing today, including all the vaccines that we talked about, many of them related to a
is
spike
it a protein spike? Is it a
yeah, it is like a spike, the structure. Yeah, and the other interesting thing is that is the part of the virus that also mutates the most. So you get different strains because every time the immune system is pushing back on the virus is trying to mutate. So that is going to be our opportunity and our challenge also, because it is going ahead of us. But at the same time, there seems to be an obvious choice that when you want to develop something in very rapid time frame that the industry is focused on. So enlighten us a little bit more on the corona and the fact that it is a target, and the fact that it is also a problem, and that there are some other relations to corona, planetary wise and otherwise. Just I thought if you can enlighten us on some correlation there.
Definitely. So thanks for the medical analysis of it, sir. So how we give remedies, shape and planet is a clue to us. So there are many solutions that are offered, many devatas that are offered. First foremost thing I would say in the sequence of order is second house is house of family, and second and seventh are house of Maraka. Longevity is very important. Second house is Kulam and Kutumbam. Everyone I would recommend to worship your Kuladaivam. Every family has a deity. If they can spend 5 minutes a day, especially on Sundays, because Corona is sun controlling, Sundays spend 10 minutes, 5 minutes, meditate on the Kuladevata. That's the first thing. Second thing is, if you want to control the planetarily, you want to have a planetary strength that you will not be impacted by Corona or somebody has Corona, you can do is Sam Suryaya Namaha. Sam is Bijakshara for Surya. Sam Suryaya Namaha. They can chant this spiritually just about 20 minutes a day. I suggest 20 minutes. There's a special reason for that amount, that number. 20 minutes a day, Sam Suryaya Namaha. That will also relieve the stress. There is another technique is you want to be in tune with nature. So if you find that there are not many people, sit under a tree if possible, or nearer to a tree, more greenery, more natural environment, and one can chant the mantra Sam Suryaya Namaha. And there are deities. If somebody is already upasana, they are already doing puja of different gods, you can use different mantras. For example, if you are doing Ganapati, you can do Ganapati as Svetarka Ganapati. You can do upasana because Arka may also means sun. Arka is the Svetarka, the root of the tree. Let's say you are worshipping Shiva on probably in Surya Hora astrologically, you will be able to do some sadhana on Sunday. There is a question. Meditation, can you read the question, Srinivaskar? There is a question.
Sure, there is a question. Question from Ramesh. Meditation can heal COVID patients. Can meditation heal COVID patients? Yoga helps beat the fear of coronavirus. Can it? I mean, these two are the questions. For you, Madhu Garu.
Yeah, sure. Yoga, definitely, as we are saying, it is able to, yoga will be able, there are two parts of yoga, Hatha Yoga and Dhyana, Dhyana Yoga, meditation. That will definitely calm you down and prepared. Let's say you are at the soldier, at the border of your country, and you are fighting with enemies. You have gun and you are equipped, and you are going and fighting for the sake of your country. Two options. Would you panic? Would you panic even more? Then you won't be able to fight. You are in the battlefield. Like that, the world is in a battlefield. The way to fight it is not through fear, but by caution. That's my first thing. Can meditation fight coronavirus? If I say, don't give any medicine, just meditate, corona will go away, I will be the foolish and the most stupidest person. I am not. That reason for this collaborative discussion today, meditation and medication, is common sense is the prerequisite to sixth sense. If you don't have common sense, what would you do in the sixth sense? Oh, sit down and meditate. Oh, there is a flood coming. Don't worry. Floods are Rahu is Vishesha Jalakaraka. Do mantra of Rahu. Flood will go away. No person will get drowned. That's like completely lack of sense. We have to have balance of these two, because we are fighting the unknown. Today, however, they say doctors don't know the medicine. They're still working on it. Pharmaceutical companies are still working on it. We are dealing with the unknown. When we are dealing with the unknown, we are using the sciences that deal with the unknown. Astrology is a science that predicts. Meditation is a science that deals with the unknown, that conditions your body into perfect state. So meditation will help you. Meditation will help. A person got coronavirus, I can guarantee if the person is like is sitting on an oxygen mask and is in ICU, I'm not expecting to sit down and meditate. But people around can pray for him, meditate for him, whether you are Christian, you are Hindu, you are Muslim, you are Jain, doesn't matter. That gives the strength. We are with you. You are meditating for you. You also meditate. The belief comes. Then there is the supernatural trigger that will happen. The meditation will open cosmic energies and consciousness that will trigger set of reactions, and we will overcome the past karma, we will overcome the effects of grahas, whatever bad planets are there that is causing the sickness, and the person is recovering. And there are many out there in internet, they are giving sadhanas. We can even do Devi Sakambari Alankaram with different vegetables. We can decorate, we can meditate on different chakras from yogic point of view, Kundalini point of view. We can also do meditations, as I said, on Sunday or Surya Hora, you will be able to do. If you don't know Surya Hora, how to measure, 1 o'clock is for sun, afternoon 1 o'clock. And if you are awake and not able to sleep, night 1 o'clock. When time is at 1 o'clock, you can sit down and do some Suryaya Namaha. Meditate on sun. Simple meditation on sun would also invoke the energies.
Thank you, Madhu Garu. Because of the constraint and the time issues, and today we'll have a last question to the Dr. Sarma Garu. Sir, I mean, we are, you've been talking about multiple approaches to the coronavirus, and there are, the different strains of the, even the simple flu, we have multiple strains of the flu. Every year the strain changes. Even if it changes, we are not able to get it correctly, and that's why even with the flu medicine, a vaccine has multiple protein, that's what I am as a layman I read. So, to cure or to help cope up with the flu, we are getting a flu vaccine. The same way we have for corona, we are trying to get a vaccine, but by the time we get to the vaccine, but you might be getting a new strain of the corona. So this medicine may not work. And at the same time, we are expediting the process, and so there are multiple questions here. So probably you can see what our best you can do on that, or else we can go to another day. So what is the probability of the medicine which we will be getting will work, and what are the pitfalls of expediting the process?
That's actually is a great question. Again, coming back to the fact that part of it depends on how quickly the virus mutates, right? It is let's go by what the history is teaching us, right? I think that's one place to at least start, even though it's an unknown virus. It is likely that, over time, we may need more than one approach to completely contain the virus. That doesn't mean that the first one is not going to be necessarily effective, but eventually you want to get to complete eradication of this, right? So I would say that the approach will very likely require more than one treatment modality, whether it is in the context of having a multivalent vaccine. Eventually flu, I think now has 4 tetravalent, or it is a vaccine in combination with something else. I mean, all aspects are possible, but I think the first success would significantly help to contain. If it is like almost like a big tidal wave is coming and you already know that you have to build 3 or 4 dams, right? We have to build the first dam and there will be some seepage and some spillover, then you build the second one. So that's how I think we should be thinking about it. I think the industry is right now racing to build the best possible dam, that we can as fast as possible, recognizing that the strength of the dam, may be not enough or there may be leakages or whatever, but they will be ready to build the second one and the third one. Don't wait for the second and third to happen, because it gives you the ability to then plan, because we're learning a lot. And one thing that has been fascinating to me is that in the last 12 months, we probably spent more energy than we spent in the last 25 years on HIV, on COVID. At least just the sheer volume.
We're almost relearning medicine and we're almost relearning
technology. I won't be surprised if we read a new chapter on immunology when this is all over. So I think that is the hope. Because all this knowledge we are generating real time, it may be, will help us be prepared to sort of come up with the most effective way to neutralize this virus. It is possible that this virus may just be with us. It will be part of us. And one thing I want to leave people with is that, there are more bacterial cells and viral cells in our body than our own cells. I don't know many people know that. We're already a living ecosystem. So eventually it will find a way to coexist. Just like the flu virus does, just like, we still once in a while see polio outbreaks, right? So some of these things are at a level where they don't become a threat anymore. But I think the first step is an important step. I wish we get there very quickly. Then I think from that point forward, building overall strategy will be driven by data. And I think we'll have a lot of data and tools at that point to do that. So I think we should continue this research. I don't think anything should decelerate. If anything, it should accelerate, because it's going to teach us a lot about different ways to bridge the gap.
Very nice. Srinivaskar, I want to add one thing because we have less time. Only one line I want to add. Apart from meditation, if someone doesn't know how to meditate or they want to do something more than meditation in an alert state, I would recommend them to listen to beautiful music. We are gifted with so much of tradition. Tyagaraja, Muthuswami Dikshita, Shyama Shastri, so many great musicians are born in this land. Music is giving the effects of meditation. Even I am doing a show with great Shri Mandolin, Rajesh, a show called Healing Mandolin. The reason is for people to reach that state, that relaxation state, music is helping. Healing Mandolin is one of the initiative. It is a voluntary thing we are doing. People should listen to music and relax, and also relax as much as you can, do your best, and the immunity will go up. That's belief I want to leave today's discussion with.
Thank you very much, Madhu Garu and Dr. Sharma Garu. Madhu Garu, do you want to say anything to the audience or anything? Yeah.
So I want to say this is beautiful meditation and medication. I want to thank Sharma Garu. I want to thank Srinivas Garu. Do not spend time worrying about the future. Future is in the present. Today you can control. Present is your present. Spend today 20 minutes. Just sit down and relax. Every day spend 20 minutes relaxing yourself. If you are too much relaxed, get into an activity and support others who are mentally down. Your calls, your notes, what you put on Facebook, what you put on social media, what you put on Instagram, let everything be positive. Then we can fight Corona positive. Let Corona fail and we succeed. That's all.
Thank you, Madhu Garu. Dr. Purnanand Sharma Garu, do you have any message to the audience or listeners? Please.
No, I think this has been a wonderful discussion. Thank you again for having me. I think this is unprecedented time, as we all know. I think, to Madhu's point, I think, stressing about it is probably not the best way to spend, especially when you're in lockdown. So relax, and there is a lot of research going on, and it's one of those cases. It caught the entire industry and humanity by surprise, if you will. But I'm very confident on all angles, including the scientific and medical angle, that there will be a resolution to this sooner than later.
Thank you, Dr. Purnanand Sharma Garu and Dr. Madhu Garu, for coming and sharing your information with the audience. I know there are many other topics to be covered. We'll come back to you some other day. Thank you very much, both of you. Have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scube TV. Thank you.